Oh, it's
I
so
couldn't get
easy.
in.
It'll change the date on something.
Rick and I could.
It screws everything.
And I noticed on my.
Well, we'll wait on Sylvia to get back.
Okay.
Make sure she's got everything.
I gonna be here?
No, not us, not this. She called me and said she wasn't feeling well. Okay, so we're on Zoom and everything's, okay.
Wait,
Yes, I know. So, okay, so tonight, September 1, 2021, we're at Bartonville Town Hall, 1941 East Jeter Road, Bartonville, Texas. We're a special meeting, and it is 5:34, and we will call the meeting to order. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America. Stands one nation, justice for all.
Okay, so we, doesn't look like we'll have any public participation. So we will have the approval of the minutes of the August 5th, 2021 meeting. Chance to take a look at that. Anyone, make a motion
Motion to approve.
on favor? So just 5 vote? Alternate one? Okay. Okay. All in favor then. Okay, so we will have our public hearing, item number 1. Grant to hear public comment and consider a request for a variance from the zoning district requirements for chapter 19 accessory building and use regulations, section 19.3 accessory dwelling, subsection J, stating that accessory dwelling shall be located behind the primary structure and shall not be built further than 50 feet from the primary structure. Variance sought is to allow for the construction and continued placement of an accessory building to be 205 feet from the primary structure on a tract of land being described as Kraus Edition, Block A, Lot 5, Town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas. The property to be considered for the variance is generally described as a 5.524 acre tract of land located on the south side of Roadrunner Road, more commonly known as 1064 Roadrunner Road, Bartonville, Texas. Public hearing at 5:36.
So in summary, variance has been requested to place an accessory dwelling 205 feet from the primary structure, where town ordinances state that the accessory dwelling can be no further than 50 feet from the primary structure. The applicant is here today and has also included a letter indicating more information that's included in your agenda packet with several reasons for the variance request, including that the proposed location is already level and clear of trees. The proposed location used to be a riding arena. So it's already in process of being suited for a building placement. The guest quarters will have 924 square feet of floor area and will be located on the second floor of the accessory building. The first floor will have space for office, exercise, trophy rooms, and a garage. Our building official did review the preliminary plans and approved the floor area of the guest quarters and that it meets the definitions of town ordinances. Welcome to come up. Please state your name and address for the record, and if there's any other information you'd like to include.
This is B. Craft Hunter, 64 Road. My wife Jan is here with me this evening as well. Thank you all for attending this evening. Thank you, Sylvia, for putting everything together and the Board of Adjustment. I know this is a civic duty, but this is your own personal time, and we appreciate you taking it to be here and hear our request. But just really quickly, we're new residents to the town, and we don't come here trying to upset anybody's apple cart or anything, but we came from a more rural environment, and we are rural people. And one of the reasons we're here is my wife. She wanted to move here. But she put the pen in the map, and we were drawn to Bartonville because of its rurality. And if you look at all the towns around here, and I'm certainly not being depreciating of any of those, but Bartonville is a very special place. And we see it as such. And this is probably maybe theoretically going to be our last home. And so we were very judicious in making our choice. We lived 120 miles from here in the country on a fairly large ranch. We wanted to move back to be near the city to have the things that city, good healthcare, good restaurants, good shopping. But we also wanted a rural environment. This is a very special place. It's a haven of rurality and amongst all of the growth that's around here. We had a home in Frisco for a while, and we literally went from seeing empty buildings to skyscrapers being built. And so we are very much in favor of what does that shirt say on that gentleman here? Keep Bartonville rural. Before we came here, we did some diligence because the place we left, we wanted certain things, and the house we bought didn't have them. And one of them, as Sylvia pointed out, is an exercise room, a trophy room, and a place for cars. We have 4 grown children, got a passel of grandchildren. From time to time, when they all visit, we had thought in terms of just having some space under. We saw in the Wedtown website it was 1,000 square feet or less, and so we designed it as 964, I think it is. We did not catch the fact that it had to be within 50 feet of the primary residence. So when we submitted our preliminary plans to Sylvia, and she came back and advised me of what the rules were, but I could apply for a variance, and that's why we're here. This guest quarters, we'll call them, would be used very seldom. We had a cabin on our other property utilized for the same purposes, and I think it was used 3 or 4 times a year for a few days at a time. And just as a further assurance, we're not asking you to allow us to build this because we ever think of it as being a permanent residence for anyone, or it would never be used for a rental unit. And we don't expect to have full-time employees, so we wouldn't have a housing for an employee. And so one of the things that when we were developing our other place and we started to sell pieces of it off, we made sure that it was deed restricted to be rural. And so we asked people to sign documents saying they're not going to put a used car lot there or start a hog farm or a big chicken farm. And I would just say to the board, if you so desired, my wife and I would be pleased and happy to put a deed restriction on our property, so stating that this guest quarters would never be rented, we would never collect rent, and no one would ever live in it permanently. And we'd be happy to put that in our deed, and it would be on file. And it would anybody else, if someone bought our property after us, they would have to abide by the same rules. In terms of our neighbors, I did take the opportunity, since you supplied me, Sylvia, with a listing of all our neighbors, I put together a little brief, and my wife and I went around, and we don't know all of our neighbors, but we made sure everybody got a copy of this brief. And I won't go into any detail, but it contained some of the things that Sylvia talked about and some of the things we've talked about. I also showed on the map that Sylvia had included, I did a yellow line and also on our little map, so they could see where in that riding arena this building would reside. I also said to our neighbors a little note, and I'll read it into the record if I could. And I said to our neighbor, I said, you're receiving this material because your property is within 200 feet of ours. And we're in the process of requesting a variance to allow us to have guest quarters in the building we are planning to construct. My wife and I, Jan, moved here in April, having sold our ranch in Mount Vernon, Texas. We chose Bartonville because of its commitment to its rural character. We are in the planning process of erecting a garage-type building on the property that will house a personal office, exercise facility, trophy room, and storage space for collector cars. In the course of the design work, we wanted to include a second-floor guest quarters of 924 square feet. This space would be used only as overflow for family visitors. We were not aware that a building containing guest quarters needed to be within 50 feet of the main residence. The structure will be professionally constructed in full compliance with existing building codes and will be compatible as to color finish of our existing buildings. Please review the attached documents showing our property and its structures. Given the layout of the land, it is physically impossible to place the proposed building within 50 feet of our main residence. We have also included a copy of a communication to Ms. Sylvia Ordman, and that was the email that you attached for the folks to review tonight. Town administrator stating that the proposed guest quarters would never be permanently occupied as a rental unit. And so I had two reactions, both of them positive. Carlos Rivero came down to the house, introduced himself, very charming individual, and he said, "Gee, I think it's great." And he said, from the street, you're going to be able to see the building. And he said, "I think it's great because our families get together and, and he said, I don't have a problem at all." A next door neighbor, Alan Griggs, I met him over the fence. And in all fairness, this was a conversation we had prior to him receiving what I just reviewed for you. But he said, "Gee, that's great. No problem here from me." So that's that. So that's the end of any of my prepared remarks. I may have gone on a little too long because I don't see anybody here having an objection or voicing an objection, but I still did want you folks to have the opportunity to get to know my wife and I a little bit. And we're happy to be here, excited about living here, and we've met some really cool folks so far. So anyway, any questions by anybody on the board of me or my wife?
Time, but we may
Okay.
have more questions for you.
Absolutely, no problem. Oh, thank you.
So since there's no one here, I guess there's no one in favor and there's no one opposed. And so did you get any response other than the two that, so that was your only response?
No public comments.
Anyone?
Just have one statement. As usual, we went out and looked at the property and got a great tour. And this 50-foot rule on this particular property, on many properties, makes absolutely no sense at all. I can understand on a 1 acre, 1.5 acre, but this is 5.5 acres, and a 50-foot rule just, it's not logical. But we're going to get spoiled with plans like this, but there's just no objection to this at all.
Bill might know more because you've been on P and Z, that you might understand why they actually, I mean, my guess is that they have it so that you can't subdivide the property down the road.
Correct.
That would be my guess.
But if they're willing to sign a deed restriction,
I don't
that it
know,
can't be
did you
used,
even
but-
make them do that, Ed?
you can't,
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
but you can't subdivide 5 acres anyway.
No, but now you can't.
Now you can't. That's true too. If we don't watch ourselves. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
You know, Jim, I didn't use you as an example in the past. I went and looked at the property ahead of time. And if you just look in the surrounding area, not 200 feet, but quarter mile, there's a lot of buildings like we're talking about here in most of everybody's house. Some of them are attached or real close to the home, but some are far, and some are very large. So to me, my takeaway was the same as yours, is it doesn't seem like it's out of place at all in that area.
On this property,
Yes, on
that's
this
what I'm saying.
You've got some trees that have to be cut. In this case, none of them. This would
Trees.
be in the right arena. Up there, we're 50 foot from it, back of the swimming pool. You definitely have to cut several trees.
Plus, it's not flat. The riding arena is perfectly flat right now. So,
It's got a pretty good grade to it. So
but there's no loss of trees here.
Take a lot of fill to put it within 50 foot.
Oh, yeah. So with a deed restriction, I certainly have no problem with this,
But it's-
which nothing to do with us anyway.
we can't require it. I
We
mean,
can't
if he
require that.
Wanted to do it on his own.
Nope.
Yes, so
I don't think the people that live up in that area are gonna have rentals anyway.
No, I don't know.
No,
I don't know
I
if
don't
that
think
would be
so.
required. I was thinking the same thing.
So. Oh, we have to have a reason, don't we?
You have to officially say it.
Okay, I move that we accept the application as advanced, as,
As proposed.
As proposed, thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Motion
No.
passes unanimous. Okay, so then, and there's no future business, so it's 5:49 and we'll call the meeting to order.
That's a record. Good job.
I don't know if that's a record. but I
Yeah.
mean, that's-
Pretty close.
Yeah. P and Z would be happy.
I don't understand why P and Z has